The Galactic Academy of Concordance was older than most star-faring civilizations. Its marble-white spires pierced the violet skies of Alderian Prime, housing scholars from 500 species, creatures of light, scaled beings with crystalline lungs, floating orb minds, and a few rare organics who still preferred bodily forms. Among these scholars, Rose Kael'thara, a brilliant xenohistorian, moved like a quiet comet, sharp, confident, and always focused. Her partner for most assignments was James Carter, a young human cadet with a reputation for stubbornness and unexpected insight. But in all their years studying humanity's chaotic rise into the stars, nothing prepared them for the mystery of the Siege of Therum Forge, a legendary event etched into galactic memory. The records were incomplete, the battle strategies contradictory, and the identity of the final defender, a nameless human, was shrouded in myth. A myth Rose was determined to unravel. 1. The lecture that changed everything. Professor Velis, a luminous being whose body shimmered like liquid silver, levitated above the amphitheater. Class, Velis began. Today's topic, the Siege of Therum Forge, a fortress world that resisted annihilation against overwhelming odds. A massive hologram ignited. Fallen battlements, burning sky trenches, thousands of alien troops swarming like locusts. It is said, Velis continued, that on the final day when all defenders had fallen, one lone soldier held the main gate for 6 hours. Alone. Whispers spread. Impossible, muttered a Uranth Saurian. Humans exaggerate, scoffed a crystalline Voss scholar. Rose's eyes narrowed. Humans didn't exaggerate. They survived. James leaned toward her, whispering, 6 hours is crazy, even for us. Professor Velis raised a thin, silvered tendril. The identity of this human is unknown. No name, no rank. The final logs call him simply the Janitor of Therum. Laughter erupted. Even Rose blinked. A janitor. Velis's tone sharpened. Before you scoff, remember, this lone human delayed an army long enough for reinforcements to arrive. Without him, the Forge and half the galaxy would have fallen. The room quieted. James swallowed. Something about the story bothered him, tugged at the back of his mind. 2. A strange encounter. After class, Rose stayed behind reviewing battlefield archives while James tried to match weapon signatures with damage patterns. The janitorial drone hummed quietly in the background, sweeping debris. A human, older, broad-shouldered, wearing a simple maintenance uniform, pushed a utility cart beside them. James nodded politely. Evening, sir. The man nodded back, eyes warm, ancient in a way no age scan could measure. You two studying Therum Forge? His voice was rough, gravel over steel. Rose brightened. Yes, the siege is fascinating, but the last defender, the records are contradictory. There's no tactical explanation for how one person held off that many troops. The janitor chuckled softly. Sometimes explanations come from the ground, not the archives. James tilted his head. You study military history? The man shrugged. Lived a bit of it. Rose smiled politely and returned to her tablet until the janitor spoke again. The trick to holding a gate, he said, isn't strength, it's timing. You let them think you're about to fall, make them rush, then you choose the moment to push back. James froze. Rose slowly lifted her head. The janitor continued sweeping. James cleared his throat. Sir, how do you know that? The man paused, leaned on his broom, and gave them a tired, almost nostalgic smile. Because, he said softly, I was the one who held it. 3. The room fell silent. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Rose felt her pulse hammer. You're saying you were at Therum Forge? The janitor wiped dust from his hands. Stood right in front of that gate, 6 hours. Felt like 6 lifetimes. James stammered. But the defenders were elite troops. The strongest the forge had. Not when I got there, the man said quietly. Everyone else was gone. Rose stepped closer. What was your rank? The janitor chuckled. Rank? I was a janitor, maintenance crew. I fixed vents, mopped plasma leaks, changed filter coils. Happened to be working on the lower decks when the breach alarm sounded. Rose stared. You weren't trained? Trained? He looked at them as though recalling a distant joke. Kids. Humans don't always get training. Sometimes we just improvise. 4. The real story. The janitor, whose uniform tag simply read E. Gray, sat on a supply crate as Rose and James listened breathlessly. The forge's main gate was failing. Our soldiers were already dead or evacuating wounded. I got up there to seal the backup barriers, but the controls were fried. What did you do? James whispered. Gray shrugged. Picked up a rifle. Rose stared. Just like that? When there's no one else left, it stops being a choice. He looked distant, voice raw. The enemy waves came nonstop. I wasn't trying to win, just trying to buy a few more minutes for evac transports. He smiled faintly. Turns out I bought 6 hours. James asked softly, Weren't you afraid? Gray's answer was a whisper. Terrified, every minute, but fear doesn't stop humans, it focuses us. Rose's throat tightened. She had studied countless species, but only humans turned terror into fuel. 5. A name returned to history. Rose suddenly realized the importance of this moment. Mr. Gray, the galaxy thinks you were a myth. Good. He chuckled. Let them think that. Legends last longer than people. James shook his head. But the Academy needs to know. We can update the archives, restore your name. No, Gray interrupted sharply. His eyes hardened. Heroes are the ones who died that day. I just happened to be the fool still standing. Rose's voice softened. You saved millions. Gray looked away. And I'd do it again. But I don't need medals. I just need these halls clean and these students learning. He stood, picked up his broom, and added gently, Tell the story, not the name. The gate belonged to all of us who stood our ground that day. 6. The final word. Before leaving, Gray turned back. You two have good hearts. Keep searching for truth. And remember, he tapped his broom against James's boot. Sometimes the person you overlook is the one holding the whole damn galaxy together. With that, he walked away, pushing his utility cart down the empty corridor. James exhaled shakily. Rose, we just met a living legend, Rose whispered. No, we just met a human. And in that moment, she finally understood why galaxies trembled at the human name. Not because humans were strong or brilliant or unbreakable, but because when everyone else falls, a human will still stand in front of the gate.